Hello legends and super legends, welcome to Veloharmony. In today's video, what I want to do is to talk about the significance of recovery, what happens when you don't recover. And I'm going to use some clips to kind of demonstrate that. And this is not just based on reviewing the clips. It's also based on a conversation that the person in the clip ended up having with Paul during the ride at the stop. You'll see what I point out. But when you don't have a structured plan, this is what ends up happening, because you end up being flat, tired, and you're not really sure why, and you can't really analyze it. So let's go ahead. Let me get to my screen. I'm using the clip from last week's ride to show here. This is Mike. Mike is behind me. Mike is one of the guys who drive the Team RR group. And so I was very surprised to see that he was having challenges during this ride. And that's what you will see me point out. As we roll here, Jerry begins to accelerate. You can see my cadence going up. It's going to go in excess of 120 RPM. Normally, Mike would have been right on my wheel. You can see the gap. So that was the first thing I noticed after hearing about the conversation he had with Paul at the stop. And so I came back and looked at that. That's a big gap, because normally he would be right there. Well, it takes a lot of energy at these speeds. We're doing 31, 32 miles an hour. It takes a lot of energy. You can see I'm not even pedaling. He was still pedaling. So now we begin to go downhill. That's one of the things that I noticed when I came back now. This is a second clip here. I'm pulling. And this is the guy where everybody on the channel pretty much noticed that he needed a fit. I don't know his name or anything, but you can see his saddle's too high. As I pull off here, I'm surprised that there's a gap this large. And now here comes Mike. Well, look at that gap. It's about a car length. That's a lot of work, a lot of wind you're catching. That's Greg going on. So they move up and watch as I slip behind Paul H here. So Mike's up there. Mike's behind that guy in blue. And since that guy had been pulling, he's not going to be up there very long. So I'm not surprised when he pulls out. I take a drink here. And in a little while, you will see when he pulls up, Mike will be leading. This is what started to break up the group. This is, in a short while, you will see why the group kind of got scattered all over the road. Okay, this is where this guy pulls out. He's done pulling. He pulls out. Mike takes over. Now, normally, Mike can sit up there. He can drive this group for time immemorial. Today, it was kind of different. He just seemed to be lacking power. And, so after his conversation with Paul, I came back and I looked at these and decided to make this video just kind of show that if you just ride all year, that most of the guys down here do because of the weather, you can reach a point where you get kind of stale, and they call it being flat. And those were the words that he used. He told Paul he was feeling flat, he was just tired, weak, whatever. If you get to that stage, it's time for rest, because what it means is you don't have a plan that allows you to have rest in your weekly microcycles and then in your macrocycles. If you don't have that, you can plateau, and you can literally lead to overtraining, because what ends up happening is you will think that I need to ride more to get stronger. The funny thing about it is the day after this ride, Mike showed up again on Sunday to ride. And that just told me that he doesn't really have a structured plan to where he can go back and analyze what he's doing. You know how we talk about having a rest week factored in your plan, and then having rest days within each week within the macro cycle. So you can see he's up there pulling, but he's not himself, and he ended up admitting it, and you will see in a little while. So you need to make sure you have a plan. You can't just ride all year, do the same thing, and expect your body to improve. You need to have structure that allows for rest periods within the week and rest periods within the 6-week cycles. You have to have breaks. Mentally and physically, your body needs that. There's a tractor trailer parked on the side here, which I'm showing the guys. But you can see the pace is not that hard at this point. People still following Mike. Now Victor comes up on the left here. This is when things started happening, and I want you to pay attention to Mike. Mike is not able to lift the pace, and normally he can do that in his sleep. That was the first thing, and that was one reason why I stayed behind Mike, because usually Mike will close those gaps. You will see that develop here. You see the guys on the right. Mike's done pulling. Greg pulls through. Rudy's there. Paul H moves up. Normally Mike would pick up Paul H. Mike is still sitting on the left. I expected him to pick up Paul H. So I'm back here sitting, expecting him to close that little gap. But the gap continues to grow. Victor is going to move ahead to ride up to those guys. Normally, Mike would be on Victor's wheel. Mike does not respond. That's the first thing that tells me he's not himself today. Okay, if he had not admitted it to Paul at the break, and then he was cramping at the end of this ride because he continued and rode further with us into the forest. So you see right here, I'm moving up. Normally Mike would be here. Normally Mike would be the guy closing the gap. Hey, he's just not firing. You know, so once I heard his conversation with Paul, I decided I would make this video to let all of you know you can't just ride all year. Look how far along the road those guys are now because of that little hesitation there and what happened. I'll go ahead and use the downhill here to close the gap somewhat. So Greg had taken a pole up there. Paul H was behind Greg. Victor's moving up there. There's another rider up the road. Who's Victor? Victor's riding up to him. And right here is where I go around these guys, trying to keep the group together. Normally Mike would be here with us, and now I think he's in the back there, you know, just sitting in. This is why I tell Paul H to come on. I said, come on, man, let's go. So that's Rudy and Victor up the road there. Mark makes a move to go up there. Normally Mike would be up here, so I ride up with Mark. And I kind of wanted to show this just so you would know that because Mike was tired and flat and just not feeling like himself. There's Mike. Now you will see again, Mike managed to get on the back. Look at the guy in green right away from Mike. That never happens. And that's why he was very despondent. He was talking with Paul and he was saying he couldn't understand why he was feeling so weak and flat and whatever. And when that happens, you need to rest. But the tendency is people think that they need to ride more. So you have to incorporate rest throughout the year. Don't just wait till you get tired. Don't just wait till what you see out here happening to Mike. And since I don't really know what his training plan is or anything, the concern is he going to figure that out? So I just wanted to point that out. So no matter what, get your K's in, but get a structured plan. Go to the website, veloharmony.com, and sign up for our plan.